All right, so New Ventures BC competition presented by Innovate BC. So New Ventures BC, we are a not-for-profit, like I said. The competition itself is kind of a collaboration between academic, corporate, and government. And our primary government supporter is Innovate BC. They're our title sponsor, and they fund a good portion of the prize money as well. So if you don't know Innovate BC, they're a provincial crown corp dedicated to supporting the tech ecosystem here. And you'll learn a lot about them if you do the competition. So who are we? We are BC's largest startup competition, both in kind of size and also prize money. Just letting someone in here. And I'll kind of take you through the different components of the competition. There's a lot of moving parts, and we kind of do that on purpose because we want you to have some form of benefit, no matter how far along you go in the competition. So of course there's the $250,000 in cash and prizes. We also have a lot of education events. I have networking there because typically we do a lot of networking. We will do some virtual networking, but it is of course different this year. Mentorship, jury feedback, recognition. These are all kind of the core components of the competition. And we feel at the early stage, really important ways to hopefully help you grow and accelerate, your startup journey. So, okay, so isn't this a nice picture? This is from our awards ceremony a few years ago. Of course, we can't do that right now, but our hope is we'll get to see, everyone in a nice big room very soon. So that's from our awards ceremonies in the past. Virtual, we'll have a virtual version. So first I'll go through just some of the components. So we do have a lot of education seminars coming up. It's part of our annual startup seminar series. So those start April 7th. I've listed a bunch of the topics here. We have more coming. So there's probably another 5 or so. We're just kind of confirming speakers on. And these are, you don't have to be in the competition to attend these seminars. If you are, not sure about the competition yet, but you kind of want to learn and absorb and meet people, you're welcome to attend these for free. It's kind of like it's a bit of a boot camp, I guess. Some of the things you need to know to start a company, and these are some of the best practices. It's also some, great speakers, so you'll be able to hopefully make some interesting connections. What else can I add on here about here? Oh, if you are in the competition though, a lot of the seminars will help you complete some of your submissions in the competition in later rounds though. So there is certainly benefit to attending if you're in the competition, but you certainly don't have to be. We like to open up the education series to everybody. And then also April 8th, I'll talk a bit more about that later, but April 8th, I have online networking. So we typically do kick off our competition with a networking event, which we had to cancel last year, of course. So this year we are going to try one. We are going to try a virtual one. I think we've come to the conclusion that that you really need to have it structured to make it interesting. Because I've certainly been in those Zoom rooms where no one's talking, or you see the top of someone's head. So we want to try and avoid that. So what we're doing right now is we're going to make sure there's a moderator in each of those rooms. The moderators are going to be volunteers, mentors, jury members in our community. So they're people hopefully you'll want to talk to, and we'll kind of cycle you through all their rooms in 10-minute increments. So we'll see how it goes. But hopefully some of you, if you want to if you're, even after today, if you're still not sure, you want to talk to some more people, figure things out, that's probably the next best event for you to attend. So more topics here to be announced soon, but all the topics listed here are already on our website for sign up. They'll be, I believe they're either Tuesday or Wednesday, 1 o'clock to 2:30, and we will record them as well. So if you can't attend them live, that's okay too. All right, so the other component that we're quite well known for is the mentorship in the competition. So go back there. So the mentorship, you're certainly talking to people in the education seminars, but in terms of more customized mentorship, that really happens when you go to the top 40. So that's around May. You'll get access to pitch coaching from our partners at Volition. And then when you're in the top 25, if you make it to the top 25, you get assigned 2 to 3 individual team mentors to work just with your team. And then you also get the opportunity to do what's called a mentor panel. And that's really you presenting your company to about eight mentors or so, different from your team mentors. And they'll give you constructive feedback. It's kind of like a practice gentle version of the Dragon's Den, I guess. But the feedback is meant to be constructive, and hopefully it's people that you want to meet. So it helps grow your network as well. Who are the mentors and actually judges in this fatter in our competition? We generally recruit in 3 categories, like I've got here. They're either entrepreneurs who have raised money before or have had exits. They're corporate finance experts, investors, or they have what we call deep domain experience. So that would be someone who, say, ran a sales department for 10 plus years and knows what you need to do to build up something like that. So those are kind of the criteria we use when we recruit. So to get into the nitty gritty of the competition itself, this is it's going to be a bit of a long-winded one, but I'll go through the process as much as I can here. So it's kind of built into 4 rounds, and there's different things you get based on the round. So right now we're in round 1. This is really just open applications. I've got deadline, of course, is April 12th. I've got here, we get around 170 applications a year. That is what we typically get. Last year, we got way more. We got 240. And I know other competitions right now have gotten more applications than they've expected. So I'm not sure if we're going to see a number like 240 again, but it's typically around 170. It is an online form you complete. I'll kind of take you briefly through that process a little bit later. This is strictly an eligibility round, so don't need to spend a ton of time on crafting the perfect application, because we're really just checking eligibility. Save your time for the future rounds, because you'll need it for that. And in this period, this is when our education series starts, and that networking event I mentioned. So this is really kind of the early stages of the competition. Then in May, we have our round 2 deadline. So you're submitting a 5-page submission. We supply the questions. You're answering them kind of in a template. An optional 60-second video pitch, if you'd like to do one. And that gets uploaded to our competition system. That gets judged by a minimum of 5 jury members, and they are judging you on a rubric of 5 different criteria. And then based on that, basically the top 40 continue on. So the top 15 move on to round 3, which I'll get to. And then the next 25 go into what we call round 2.5, because we added it in kind of in the middle of the competition. Round 2.5, you have to pitch your way into round 3. So you're prepping a pitch. That's where you're getting some pitch coaching. You have access to pitch coaching. And then of those 25, 10 more advance on to round 3. So by the time we get to round 3, it's kind of late June. And we're down to a top 25. So when we get to this stage, this is where you get those team mentors I mentioned. We'll have a few more seminars related to, your round 3 submission, slightly smaller groups. And oops, there we go. And then you read 8-page submission, and that gets submitted to a different jury and judged on a different rubric. And that jury is the jury that will determine the top 10, and the top 10 then moves on to round 4. This is by September. Round 4 is top 10. Then you're doing an in-person pitch to that jury, and then they pick the winners from there. So it is a 6-month process if you go all the way to the end. We kind of designed it that way because we want you to, again, work through the questions, talk to your mentors, hopefully work on the business while you're doing this. So the hope is the questions we ask you, the things you're going through, the hope is always that it's hopefully not a needless distraction. The hope is it is a distraction, but hopefully it's helping your business grow as well. That's always the intention. And then I should also say with each round, you get a report with how you scored from the jury and any written feedback they provide. It's usually anywhere from a sentence or two to a paragraph. And then when we can, we'll connect you every once in a while. Someone's like, hey, I really want to talk to this jury member, can I? So we'll try and facilitate those connections, when we can.
Hey, Angie, is that grading rubric, you mentioned there's 5 things of the grading rubric for the 60-second pitch. Is that public, or is there a link where we can check that out?
I don't know if it's on our website like publicly, but it is something we share when we provide the round 2 details. So you do get it. It's basically, if I can remember off the top of my head, you're scored on market, financial, competition, what is it, distribution, and overall potential. So they score you on a scale of 1, I believe it's 1 to 5 on all those elements. And then based on your score, that's how we determine who moves on. We also have a decision analytics firm called Octothorpe. They weight everything. So by that I mean, I think it's called normalization. So the idea is, if you get, say, 5 really hard judges, they'll bump your score up to reflect that. And if you get 5 really easy judges, then your score will get bumped down to reflect that. So there's a little bit of, numbers matched to attempt to keep to account for the fact that different people are judging you. Okay, let me just see here. Okay, yeah, that was you, Alex, of asking about the rubric. Okay, good. All right, let's keep going here. Okay, so prizes. So we do have prizes. They are non-dilutive. First prize is it's $110,000 Innovate BC prize package. That's 80 cash. The balance is in kind. Second prize is what is it? I believe it's 40 cash. The rest is in kind. And then third is 25 cash, and the rest is in kind. And then this year we have 3 specialty prizes. So there's $10,000 for social venture, and that's pretty broad. That's a pretty broad category. I would say that includes anything in clean tech, a lot of agri-tech, a lot of social impact. So it's quite broad. Regional startup and women-led venture as well. So, and we are, if someone's doing quick math, you'll know that doesn't quite equal $250,000. And that's because we're adding a couple more things. So details for those will come soon. So typically the top 10, you need to be in the top 10 to win these prizes. For some of the specialty prizes, if there's no one that's a good fit in the top 10, it does go to the top 25, but you do have to get to one of those thresholds for the prizes. So people always want to know if I think they'll win, which I of course have no idea, but I always like to say, I'll talk about that a little bit, but it is 6 prizes. There'll probably be 7 or 8 maybe in the end. And we do get 100 and something entries. So I always like to say, prizes are good, but don't go in it just for that, because, it's process. So, okay. Hold on. There we go. Okay. But if you do win, you get a really big check, which is always very fun. It's always fun to give that away to people. Okay, so past winners, who's done the competition before? This is literally just a dump of names of some of our past winners. We do have a full listing on our website as well, if you're curious. Last year, the winner was a company called Adolis, and you'll be hearing from Daanaa, who won second, and Fable. Some other people that have kind of been in the news lately that you might be familiar with. Accelera, who just had their big IPO, they won several years ago. Certain. I have Certain's on here. Certain, they just raised a bunch of money earlier this year, so you might have seen them. Yeah, lots of great successes. We really do feel that the competition is kind of a rite of passage for early stage companies, and our hope is that a lot of the big BC successes go through it at some part on some part of their journey, and most of them do. Okay, so speaking of past winners, now's the time I'm going to throw this presentation to, I'm going to stop sharing so we can see Udi and all his screen here. I'm going to throw over to Udi Daon. He's the CEO of Dhana, who won second place last year. He also won second place with another company, I don't know, several years previous. So he has been in the competition twice. So I would say he is pretty qualified to talk about his experience. So over to you, Udi.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Udi Daon. I'm the CEO of Dhana, and just a bit about who we are and what we do. We make advanced IC-based power system. So it's basically chips-based power systems, advanced power systems that deliver power through air and structures. And right now we're focusing on the solar segment to increase power. So as a CEO of Daanaa, we entered the competition in last year, and we got to second place. I'm going to talk about that journey in a bit. I started actually with New Ventures VC as a newcomer, fresh off the boat kind of thing, and in 2012, and got second place there with another company that was in a completely different field in the medical space. That company is still in operation and doing well, called Navigate Surgical. And in between, I had the privilege of being a mentor. And so working with companies like you, and maybe if Angie would want me to stay, then I might meet some of you later on in the year. And the most important thing for me as a participant in the competition is the actual participation in the competition. And I know that it might sound weird because people say, oh, there's money involved. And true, there is. And it feels really good to walk home with a check. I mean, this year we received just a wire transfer, but the first time we actually got a check, and that was really nice. But the most important thing, at least for me, is the participation in it. And the reason is, when I started this, again, fresh off the boat, very little entrepreneurship experience, it was like a condensed, rapid fire, mini MBA that is very practical and very focused on your venture. And that is a type of assistance in thinking and guidance in how to build a company that you don't always get. And because it's very structured with the steps that I'm going to touch in a second on, it really helps to organize the thoughts about what is really important for us to do now. Because companies that are in different stages might enter the competition. And when I entered it, the company was in existence, share structure was in existence, business model was there, but we didn't have a product. So some people ask me, should I go in? And I can say very proudly that twice in this, and maybe that was the difference between second and first place, I entered the competition without a product. The product was still in development. And in both cases, will take a while after the competition to be completed. But the point was that the business, which is what this is about, a venture is about the business, not just about the tech, is receiving a lot of focus earlier on to help build it properly. So the courses, I highly recommend going to them. If you don't have experience in it, then it's going to give you a very good overview. After which I encourage each and one of you to both approach the speaker. I did so in all the time to make sure that I understand to greater extent the things that they were discussing and explaining. The people that are involved, I can say from firsthand experience, are very generous with their time to begin with, and they want to help. That's why they're there. If I remember correctly, Angie, almost everybody's a volunteer, right?
Yeah.
Other than you, which
very much
needed to be, but because of that, there's a lot of goodwill floating around, and I highly encourage you to make use of it. Not abuse it, but make use of it. People will give you answers. As you go forward in the competition and you meet mentors, I think that's where, other than the structured approach and the problem solving of what is important in our venture, one of the greatest values of this competition is in its mentors, because when paired with mentors, they usually come from different backgrounds. Everyone has a slightly different take on things, which when focused on you, the entrepreneurs, again, it all depends on how you're going to use it. If you're going to reach out, when I participated in it, I always reached out. I actually took a lot of their times initially. And they were gracefully giving it. So I make use of it, right? And they gave me feedback. And I don't know if you remember Nolan, Angie, right? He since passed away, which was very sad. But he was one of the best mentors I had because he was relentless on making sure that I'm providing answers. He said, "You're asking me, then you need to give me the answers that we're seeking." And he was a little tough on me, but that's exactly what I needed. So you guys need to be both the relentless dreamer and in pursuit of what it is that you want to achieve, but also very coachable on the other hand, because the mentors that you're going to be paired with are usually people with some experience that is very relevant to you, either in building business or in the particular domain expertise that they have. So I encourage you to listen to them and do as they act. By doing so, you also keep them engaged and get more value out of them that way. One of the things that I like most about this program, and I'll admit that I refer companies to the structure and questions, and I forward it to people because it's just the same way of approaching things, are those steps. And I'm not talking about phase 1 where it's administrative in nature, step 2 and 3 and 4, and where you're increasingly providing details to others by having it clear to yourself first. And that's the value of the progression in those steps. And some people look at phase 2.5 and they say, oh, it's sort of like I'm in between and it shouldn't. I can tell you that both time I won coming out of phase 2.5, and that actually give you some time an advantage because you have to pitch your way into it. That means that you already need to win in order to be a winner. And also you get more feedback, this opportunity to get more feedback. So I'm not saying, do something wrong deliberately to end up there. But if you're there, there's a great opportunity in it. And lastly, I will say, I'm going to go back again to everybody's here for the cash, or a lot of people are here for the cash, and I'll say ignore it. That is for me is a reward for a job well done. And the job well done isn't in convincing others, is providing the clarity to yourself about what your business actually is. If you made it to the top 10, you've already won, in my view. You don't need to walk home with cash because that's a tough bar to get into. If you made it to the top 25, you should feel very, very good about yourself, about what you've achieved. Because going from 25 to 10, it's not a reflection of how good the business is. There's other factors in play. Sometimes it's timing. Sometimes it's who you're up against. So if you made it there, that's a good thing. And use the tools after. I can tell you I am, and I encourage companies that I'm involved with to do so as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mic drop?
Mic drop. Yeah. So I'll go through a bit more of that, and yeah, we can do some Q&A as well. But anyone have any quick questions for Udi right now, or we'll keep going and he'll be here at the end. He can potentially add to or disagree with some of my pointers as well, being a competitor. So, okay, so let's keep going. We're almost there. Okay, so here are the kind of the FAQs, the things that the nitty gritty of it all. So there is an entry fee. It's $200. That's for everything. It's a whole competition. If you have 10 co-founders, that's all included. So, but there is a fee, really just because, we are a not-for-profit and it is what it is. So it's a fee. Eligibility. So we are eligible. So you have to be BC-based company, typically 5 years old or less, raise less than $1 million of non-grant financing. So in terms of the 5 years or less, sometimes we have companies that have been incorporated for more than 5 years, but they've pivoted, they're spinning out a new product, and that's not 5 years old. Then we will take that as an exception. You just need to tell us, and we'll go over that with you. In terms of the financing, that $1 million doesn't include. You might be able to hear my children screaming. Apologies. That $1 million doesn't include founder money, but it does include, like I said, grant money, but it would include, angel investment or anything where there's kind of equity taken. Registration process and questions. So I'm going to attempt something we always tell people not to do, which is to show you something live. But okay. So assuming you can see this. So we have a new online registration system this year. So, and you can't see the questions quite easily. So in case you're curious, this is you kind of create an account, and this is the page you go to. It says welcome. You have to do an application. You have to do a bunch of a survey questions, and you have to do your payment. So in terms of the key questions you ask, and again, this, oh, of course, I have to log in, of course. In terms of the key questions to ask, this again, just for eligibility. So, put out your best answer, but again, don't spend all your time and effort on this because you'll need it for the next round. So it's your company name, your product or idea, your service or product idea, what is the innovation, because there does need to be some form of IP component, your business model, and that's it. Those are the key questions. And then you submit that. Then you come over here and you have to complete a 36 question survey. I promise most of them are harmless questions. They're like email address and do you want to be in the newsletter? And then there's, I'm not going to go through every question, but just to give you an idea, social media, double eligibility check, this kind of stuff. How much money have you raised? This is A, for us to double check your eligibility, and B, like I said, we have wonderful funders. Most of them are government love information. So a lot of this information we collect is aggregated. It's confidential, but we use it to help continue to get our government funding. And then you pay, and that's it. So it's kind of what the form kind of looks like, in case you weren't sure, and I can appreciate you not wanting to create an account, just to know. Okay, so stage of venture. So Udi, like he said really well, he went in without a product commercialized. He went in pretty early. We have many people who, most of the companies are pre-revenue. A lot of people are kind of idea stage or prototype stage. We do have companies though, like the 5 years is a big range. We do have companies certainly that have launched, that have revenue. And then it really does depend. So just because you're early doesn't mean you're not gonna win, but you do certainly need a really well-formed plan and concept and idea. And just because you have launched and have some revenue, that also doesn't mean you're gonna win, because it depends on how big is your market, how much traction do you have, why do you only have this much revenue? Like, yeah, there are pros and cons to both. And I'd say the winners we've had in the last while, some have had revenue for sure, and some have not. You also don't need to be raising investment. So a lot of the questions will be around, how much money are you raising? Have you raised? And it's because often if you're going to be a scalable big company, you almost get to a point where you do need to raise money. But if you're not planning on raising money at this moment and you have a great reason why, like we had a winner a few years ago, they had tons of revenue. If you have revenue, you don't need to raise money, right? So don't think if you're not raising money, you're not going to win this competition either. This is a venture competition. It's not an investment competition. But there are questions about that simply because often if you're going to be a scalable company, raising money at some point does happen. How much work will this be? It is like Udi mentioned, what you put into it. And we do encourage you to, the more you put in, we feel the more you will get out. But that said, at a minimum, you have the 5-pager for round 2. And some of it, depending on, again, stage of your venture, some of it you may already have the answers to. But if you don't, then it's quite a bit of work, right? So it's a sliding scale for sure, but we do encourage you, the more you put in, the more you put out, you get out rather. So yeah, I don't know, Udi, can you put hours on this type of thing?
Sorry, again?
Can you put hours on types of, like, how much work will this be? Or is it kind of really does depend on how much you've put?
It really depends on how much you want to put into it. But if you put it because you do it for the business, then the incremental is almost nothing, right? Because the point is that it guides towards putting it in you need to put that more effort into making sense of your business anyways. So filling up yet another form, I don't see that as incremental work at all, just a formatting, in my view. Okay. That's how I took it.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you for that. Oh, and someone was asking around the eligibility. What happens if a company raises money before the competition is done? Good question. So you can't have raised more than $1 million of non-grant funding by the deadline. So by April 12th, if you raise $1 million, more than $1 million in June, that's fine in terms of our eligibility. That's great for you. All right. Oh, Cheng, you already answered it. Cheng has also been in the competition before as a mentor and as a top 10 company. Hi, Cheng. I read that you can be, yes. Okay. So I read somewhere that you may be eligible if you aren't incorporated yet. Yes, that's correct. You don't have to be incorporated to be in the competition either. You just can't be incorporated more than 5 years, but you also don't have to be incorporated. And what makes a winning venture? So again, oh, before I go into that, what would be considered IP? Really just something novel. So you're doing something novel. So it can be you're creating a website, which is I usually say, as a base, like if you have, say, a retail offering, it's your own retail platform. It's not Shopify it's not a Shopify website. Or you're taking a Shopify and you're taking another platform and you're combining them and creating something novel. So there needs to be something new to be considered having something novel. It doesn't mean you have to have a patent, though. It's not about patents. It's just about having something novel that you've created. Oh, so many questions are coming in here. Okay. Hey, Paul. Oh, Paul, blast from the past. One of our first accelerator clients. Is the structure of the program similar to what it was a couple of years ago? Market Fit, Business Canvas, etc. So Market Fit, Business Canvas, those are all seminars in the competition. A few years ago, we did require, or several years in a row, we did require you to do a business model canvas. We don't require that anymore. I believe it's an optional as well, but it's not required anymore. Simply because with the pitch and the 5-pager, the judges kind of said that's, we're pretty good there. They've got enough information. Okay, other questions?
Sorry, I was just going to interject. We did go through this a couple of years ago and did do, the business canvas and all that. And over the years, I've constantly gone back and referred to that and kind of updated. So when Udi asked about, yes, it is, there can be a lot of work, especially if you're pushing up against a deadline for one of your meetings, and you have to have it done or one of the sessions. But at the end of the day, like you said, it is stuff that you would have to do anyways and want to know. So it's kind of just, at least it's kind of forcing you through that structure.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Good point. Yeah, and the questions you would have answered are pretty much 95% the same. We've made a couple tweaks here and there, but pretty much the same. Okay, from Yoni. Hi, Yoni. What is the mission statement of the competition itself? Does the prize go to whoever has the greatest revenue or tax potential, hiring potential? There's a really good statement that the jury is directed by. Basically, they're looking for a company that has the greatest market with the greatest potential. So they're looking for a venture that can be global, scalable, huge market, solving a big problem. They're looking for, if you were to think of it as an investor, minimum 10x return. So, often we hear the term lifestyle business. I personally think lifestyle businesses are amazing. That's what I would love to have one day. But to win a venture competition, it's different. They're looking for companies that can be very scalable and are making, big revenue. So, what's an example? Thinkific just filed for their IPO. They actually got to a top 25 of our competition recently. That's pretty big, right? Jane Software, they won a few years ago. There's a good example of a company. It's clinic management software for physiotherapists, massage therapists, etc. They've also, when I got my flu shot this year, I used Jane to book my appointment. A good example of a company who had revenue and didn't need to raise financing and won. Again, very big global market, very good team, the ability to scale. So those are kind of the things we're looking for. What if we've been in business for longer than 5 years, but working mostly on contract, not raising funds? That should be okay, but maybe just send me an email and we can discuss that. Chang, IP, if you have patents, trademarks, or copyright, start there. Okay, yeah. Okay, so Chang's just adding some detail on the IP question. Thank you, Chang. Those are all correct. Taylor and Alex, hello. Came across company Fable, direct to consumer, one of previous winners. What would we consider their IP? So yeah, that's a good question. We had people ask us this. So again, the IP can sometimes be pretty straightforward. They have something in their back end that is custom. That's all it is. They are direct to consumer and part of their platform. I know it's part Shopify, but they also do have a bit of custom to it. That was enough to qualify them. They have also been in Techstars. They've also been in other tech accelerators. So, that was it. Are there any limitations in terms of eligibility if a company is already in other accelerators? No, absolutely not. So lots of accelerators, people in accelerators will enter the competition. We hope it's complementary, to be quite honest. That's the idea. And this is the 21st year we've had the competition, and we do have we're known for having a very good rubric. So, lots of people want to say that their companies won the competition. I think it's good on both sides. It's good for us because we've got a really strong company that an accelerator helped foster. And probably was a good reason for their success. And on their side, they can say because of that, this company won the New Ventures PC competition. I would say right now the top preferring accelerator is the Creative Destruction Lab West. They've had a pretty good record in terms of top 10 companies into the competition. So yeah, whatever they're doing is going really well. Christina, yeah, it's because of the platform. They're delivering their products on their platform. There's a custom element to it, and that's okay. The product isn't tech-based. That's okay. There just needs to be a tech element. Often we've also had lots of like protein bars or energy drinks, and again, it's a proprietary recipe. It's something novel. Fits under agritech. So yeah, if you're not sure, please do send me a message and we can discuss. And I can get the exact eligibility reason for Fable because that's what I recall, but it might be something slightly different. Let's see here. Oh, there you go, Chang. This is why I love having you around. Okay, is there an option to change entries to the survey after you submitted it? You can update your contribution questions. The survey, I believe, once it's in, but some people have just emailed me and said, hey, do you mind updating this? And we can totally do that. So yeah, so we've kind of talked around what makes a winning venture with some of your questions, but typically coachability. So when you're giving your pitch to the judge, like, are you someone who's listening to the questions? Are you deemed coachable? Because at the end of the day, yes, you're building the company, but it is about the team. Team, again, certainly we've had people win with very small teams, but do you know who you need? Do you have the right people in place? Do you have, it's kind of like when you're going in and the jury's reviewing you, like they kind of in their mind have ideas of what they view a successful venture is, and are you kind of giving them that story that we're solving a super big problem, it's needed, we have the solution to solve this problem, the problem is this big, this is what people are willing to pay for it, we have these people who say we would do this, like you kind of want to build a really good case for why your venture is going to make it, really, right? So that, and you have to have evidence for that. So that includes any market research. It includes who your team is. And even if you don't have your team assembled, who do you need? What core competencies do you need? When are you going to get them? What are your plans? If you're showing how well thought out everything is, that it does make a difference as well. So, a lot of those elements. Let's see, yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. If not, anyone let me know. Otherwise, just to close things off here, like I said, we have lots of great sponsors that really make the competition happen. We can't go without any of them. So Innovate PC, our title sponsor, Gold sponsors, EY, Fasken, SFU, VD, and UVC Solder. Silver, TELUS Ventures, Vantech, Volition, Output. Output is the platform our competition software is on. And a whole bunch of bronze sponsors. These are a lot of the service in-kind stuff you'll get throughout the competition. Not just the winners, but throughout the competition as well. So yeah, so the links I've included here is that first link here is just the competition page of our competition. If you want to get more information, the application portal, if you just want to apply, is the next link. And then some of the events I've kind of touched on, but tomorrow we're wrapping up a sales program right now. So we do have a webinar tomorrow on hiring for a sales workforce, if that's of relevance. And the first seminar at the competition is April 7th on product market fit. And that networking event I mentioned is April 8th. So, and then basically every week we'll have 1 or 2 events pretty regularly all the way through till June. So there'll be lots going on. And you can sign up for everything at that events link there. And that's it. That's how you contact us. If you use that contact email address, that'll go to me. Or you can also, I'll put my email address in here too, but we're a pretty small team. So anything you send to contact, it basically goes to me. But this is my personal email address as well. Both are good. All right, so that's all I have. I hope I didn't ramble on too much. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Udi, for sharing your experience. Really appreciate it. And yes, you are going to be a mentor this year. So
I apologize in advance.
All right. So yeah, thank you for joining us. I'll stick around here in the Zoom for another couple of minutes in case anyone wants to chat about anything. You can turn your camera on and chat, or you can just keep asking questions. Otherwise, really nice to see you all. So lots of familiar names and new names. And yeah, I hope you enter, or I hope you join the seminars, whatever makes sense for you. So thank you for joining us. Farewell. I'll keep answering questions as they come in this. So if you want to stay on, feel free. Otherwise, have a good day. And Udi, you're free to go. Thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure.
Okay.
I mean, I can stick around for a couple of minutes if there's a question that somebody wants to ask. I've got a few minutes. So.
Okay, great. Does anyone have an immediate question for Udi now? Let me just see. Let me just check these questions.
You can just reach out. Most people.
Okay. All right. Here's one that you might be able to answer. Is there a benefit to those who don't win, such as more
Absolutely.
than
Absolutely. No questions asked. First of all, as I said earlier, even if you don't win, you get the foundational tools to know what people will look for in your business. Some people just, they pass phase 1, they just are too early as a venture, right? But now you know what you are going to be looking at, right? That's not going to change, right? So that information is still relevant. So who cares if you didn't win? You now have this tool set and to know what people are going to be expecting of you and the things that you know that you need to solve for in the coming year. And if you want to reapply, right, Angie, I think that only top 10 can't reapply, right?
Yeah, you can reapply up to 3 times or twice if you're top 10.
Exactly. So, so that's secondary. What you have is what's the map? You actually get a map here. Second, introduction to the team of mentors. Some of them were on this call. Some people on this call I know personally that are just amazing people to know, let alone work with. And lastly, is that if you do a good job and participate, and it is irrelevant if you won or not. I know, and I'm involved in companies that didn't win, but still went to do great things. So winning on competition is just a point in time. The journey is what matters. I highly recommend doing it regardless of anything. And my opinion on that did not change since 2012. I will say that.
Awesome. Thank you, Udi. And yeah, I mean, our hope is it's a 6-month period, so it's not super long in the grand scheme of things, but our hope is that we're here at a very important time in your journey and we can be helpful, at that
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, it opened the door to speaking to a lot of people, right? Even as I was in the journey, right? It was easier to sometimes share my submission to New Ventures BC competition than to prepare any other material. Right, going back to what Paul was saying earlier, right? It's there, right? You might as well share it. They can read it. It was good enough to pass a stage. it probably is good enough to have a conversation with. So
Yeah, no, for sure. And it is, you know, the submissions and the pitches are all closed. So, you know, it's not like a public pitch. So it's
yeah,
also, you know,
exactly.
it's always good practice too.
Very good practice.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
So with that, I'll sign off unless
right.
there's another question.
No, I think we're good, Udi. I think you're
All
good.
right.
Thank you for joining us. Bye, Udi.
Bye.
Thanks again. We'll see
Bye.
you later this year for the competition.
Yes.
All right. Okay, everyone. I'll stick around if anyone wants to chat. Otherwise, have a great afternoon. Thanks for joining. Bye, Paul. Nice to see you. Long time no see. You too, Chang.
Thanks, Angie. See ya.
Yeah, see you, Chang. Hi, Jeff. Bye, Jeff. Nice to see you.
Hi, Angie. I just have a
Hi,
quick question. My name is Ashley Stone, and I am the founder of the Village app located in Kelowna. My question is how are you paired with your mentors, or how does that work?
So typically, I have Susan, who is my mentor in jury. She calls herself the Wrangler. So we have a bit of a big roster of mentors with different backgrounds. So typically what she does is she looks at your submission, typically from round 2. And based on that, we'll try and find 2 or 3 mentors that kind of either have that you know, that background, or could, you know, she thinks could help. So it's quite a bit of a manual matching process. That said, I do also say, hey, is there someone with a particular background you want? Like, what type of background are you looking for? What type of help are you looking for? And I'll also provide that. So, you know,
Good. It's good to know it's not random.
not
So-
random, no. So she's looking at your submission, and then she's picking who she thinks could help from there. For the most part, I think she does a pretty good job. But that said, you know, I always say give us feedback earlier, because then we can maybe make some corrections. But it's done pretty. Yeah, it takes a while, but hopefully that means we can give you a good match. And then if you're in Kelowna, you know, we try to find at least one kind of local, and then if we can, and then also you know, others based elsewhere. But you know, whenever possible, we usually try to find at least one local for you.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyone else have anything? I see Megan. Hi, Megan. Nice to see you again.
Sorry, I
Alright.
was on mute. Nice to see you as well.
Oh, good.
Can I have it's sort of a half-formed question.
Sure.
But if I do the distance accelerator,
Yep.
does it make sense to also apply to the
competition?
Yeah.
So for those who don't know, we also have a kind of an accelerator mentorship program we run year-round. So that's the program Megan's referring to. It depends on what your objectives are. If you're just looking to build your business case, you know, working with your accelerator mentors is great. Other reasons to enter the competition would be, if, like I always say, the judging is great because you're getting the feedback from 5 judges who
Right.
don't have to be nice to you, right? Like they'll give you their
Yeah.
own feedback. It's a good way to just, and they're not going to be rude, mind you. If they are, let me know. They shouldn't be, but at least, you know, it's interesting to get kind of external validation as well, right? Based on, and it's a good way to test your storytelling. If people are like, I don't get it, then maybe it's not your business. It's just maybe how you're telling the story, right? So
Yeah, for sure.
So if those are benefits, that could be worth it. But if you know you're pretty solid on that, and you just want to keep, you know, building the business, then yeah, it may not make sense. So it really depends on kind of what you're looking for.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. All right. Make sure there's anything else. All right. Okay. Well, thanks for sticking around, everyone. Nice to see you all. Ashley, I think we've talked before, haven't we?
I'm not sure.
I'm
not sure.
I recognize
Maybe.
the name. Yeah.
I hop on every call and like everything I can sign up for. So
Right.
you might have seen me around somewhere. I try to get out everywhere. So that might be from where. Yeah.
So maybe I've seen your name. Well, that you seem to be doing a good job because I remember the
Good.
name.
I'm getting the name out there. Great.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thanks for joining. Thanks for your time as well. I'll say goodbye here. Nice to see you all. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.